We are in my son's bedroom. It's a typical suburban home bedroom. It's not particularly big, maybe about 120 square feet. And one of the things it does have, though, is the ceiling is very tall. Our house has vaulted ceilings, and where his room is, it's situated where the vaulted ceiling makes the ceiling the highest in his room in the whole house. So it's about 13 or 14 feet at the peak. So one of the things my wife and I always talked about was adding a loft to his bedroom. And we didn't do it when he was younger, but now that he's a little bit older, we've gone ahead and done it. And he has a little sitting area on the bottom, and then his bedroom and where he sleeps is upstairs. So that is now done, and it presented a challenge, though. How does he get up into his loft? And that's where this ladder comes in. So we contracted out to put in the loft itself, but I built the ladder for him. And so that's going to be the subject of this video. I'm going to take you along and show you how I went about building his loft ladder. First step in building the ladder into the loft is to build the rails, which are the side pieces. What I needed were 10-foot sections of wood, but they didn't have it in the type of wood that I wanted. So I've got these 12-foot sections, and I'm just going to trim it, glue them together, and those will form the rails of the ladder. And then I'll start working on the steps. So first step, trim these to length and get them glued together, and that will probably be it for today because it will use all of my clamps. All the rough sanding is now done. I used my random orbit sander and 120 grit sandpaper and smoothed off the side rails, removed all the glue that is squeezed out, and removed all the tooling marks, all the machine marks that you get on wood when it's rough. The steps, we have 8 steps. These are 1x4s, 2 feet long. 2 of them have been glued together. We have 8 of them. Again, that's all done, and that's rough sanded as well. So the next step is to cut the angle on the bottom of the 2 side rails, and then also we're going to round the top. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut the angle on the side rail. That's going to be 20 degrees. The reason is because we want the ladder to sit at 70 degrees, and the ladder forms a right triangle. So if you don't know why those angles work out, go back to high school geometry. The ladder forms a right triangle, and the 3 angles in a triangle always add up to 180 degrees. So the bottom of the triangle obviously is 90 degrees because it's a right triangle. And then I used a protractor app on my phone to measure the angle that I wanted to be at. Came out to be 70 degrees. That means we have to cut the angle at the bottom of the rails at 20 degrees to make that all work. So if that still doesn't make sense, just trust me that that's the way it works, and you'll see that everything will work out fine. Our side rails have this thicker piece and thinner piece I had formed because I had to glue them together, so I couldn't find a piece that was the exact width that I wanted. I do want this to be on the back side, so away from you when you are climbing the ladder. That's where I want the thicker piece. I'll explain why later on, but suffice to say for right now, that's where we want it. I'll draw my angle here. And you can use a protractor. I'm just going to use a speed square. It doesn't have to be super exact. So we're going to make it, it's actually marked at 70 because over here is 0 degrees. But it's 20 degrees from there. That would be 90. And here we are at 70. And as you can see, it's not going to be super precise. But I'm going to mark it there. And then from that corner, and then we'll cut that off. And then we'll do the same thing for that one there. I've cut the 20-degree angle on both the bottoms of the two side rails, and I've rounded over the top. This is just really just for decoration, make it look a little bit better. Just took a 5-inch circle, printed it out, drew it, cut the corners off with the saw, and then cleaned it up with the bandsaw and some 80 grit sandpaper, and followed up by the random orbit sander with 120. So that's done. Next step is to use my router and a 3/16 inch round over bit and round over all the edges on the two side rails and then the tops of the steps. We cut out the notches on both of the side rails here. These are for the braces. It's going to attach the ladder to the loft. Next we have to do the finish sanding. We use a orbital sander and 150 grit to do the finish sanding on the side rails. The steps are already done. Give some extra strength to the steps, I've taken some 1x2 pieces and cut them off a little under 3.5 inches, and they will go under the steps and glued and screwed in 8 on each rail, and so these will support the 8 steps of the ladder. That was just to give it a little bit extra strength. I want to make sure it's nice and secure for my son to climb up into his loft. So that part is done. Those dried. I did that last night. Then the next step will be to attach the 8 steps to the rails, forming the ladder. The ladder is assembled. All the steps are attached to the 2 rails, and we've also attached this piece here that will anchor the ladder to the loft. It's just a cross piece here, and you can see the steps. I don't know if you can see this, but this little lip right here will hold it on the ledge itself, and this will be anchored to the side of the loft, keep it from slipping off, be nice and secure. The next step is to prepare it for painting, so we'll clean all the dust off really well. Ordinarily, I'm not in favor of painting wood. I like to stain it and show the grain of the wood, because wood's it's a living thing, and each piece is one of a kind, and I really like to show that by leaving the grain visible. But in this case, my son's room literally has nothing else wood in it, and so I thought it would look out of place if he had a wooden ladder / staircase. So we're going to go ahead and paint it. If we get it in there and don't like the look of it, then I guess I'll build another one and stain this one. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and prepare this for painting. Paint it the same color as his walls. I think it'll blend in really nice and look appropriate in his room. Here is the finished ladder in place. The paint dried for a couple of days, nice and hard. Then the last step was to put some no-slip tape. I think it's called stair grips on each of the steps, so that it would be nice and safe to climb. And I climbed it first, so if it can hold me, it'll hold my son easily. And it's anchored at the top, the cross piece that we put in. It's anchored to the landing that is his loft. So now, seeing it in place, I'm really glad I went ahead and painted it, because I think it blends in very nice and looks natural, being the same color as the wall. I think the wood went ahead and stained the wood and left it natural, looking natural. I think it would have looked out of place because there's nothing else that's wood in here. So that was it. Hope you enjoyed watching this video. I definitely enjoyed making the ladder. So thanks for watching. Have a great day.